Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my new and improved Nightmare Zone points guide. Now originally I made this guide back in September of 2017 and a lot has changed in those 2.5 years. Back then we were getting around about 1.5 million points per hour and now we're getting over 2 million points per hour consistently using this method. Now we are also getting over 100,000 melee experience per hour, which is just fantastic. So quickly, before we do get into this guide, I'm going to say there will be links in the description down below if you want to skip ahead to a certain part of the guide. And then one last thing, just before we do get into this guide, if you are interested in old school RuneScape content, you enjoy watching progress series, flipping guides, money making guides, all that sort of stuff, then maybe consider dropping a subscription to this channel, as we do plenty of that around here. Anyway, enough of this, let's get into the guide. So let's start off with how you get to Nightmare Zone. By far the quickest way to get to Nightmare Zone is just to head over to your questing tab, click on the red icon which is your minigames tab, and then select Nightmare Zone in the drop down and click teleport. That'll take you directly to Nightmare Zone. However, if for any reason you are unable to use the minigame teleport, whether it's on cooldown or whatnot, you can get here a multitude of ways. Now, Nightmare Zone is located to the northeast of Yanil. There are several teleports to get here. There is a fairy ring close by. You have Castle Wars over to the west. You also have Port Khazad, so you can use any charter ship. You could use the Yanil/Watchtower teleport. If your house is in Yanil, you could teleport there. From the south, you have the Feldip Hills Gnome Glider, as well as another fairy ring. And to the north, you have a teleport using the Ardoin Cloak, as well as teleports to Ardoin. As I said, there are a multitude of ways to get here, so you shouldn't struggle on that front. Alright, let's quickly go over the rewards that you get from Nightmare Zone. Now, the points that you require when in the Nightmare Zone can be exchanged at the rewards chest, which is just to the northeast of Nightmare Zone. If you click on the rewards chest and click search, you will notice that you are greeted to the resources tab. Now, the resources tab Iron Man cannot use. The only item that you can buy from here as an Iron Man is the Scroll of Redirection. Now, the Scroll of Redirection can be used on a house teleport tab, and you can redirect that house tab to any other house portal in the game. Mains use this though mainly to buy their herb boxes. Now, herb boxes can be bought at a rate of 15 per day, so you can only buy a maximum of 15 per day, and if you do buy all 15, it will cost you 142,500 Nightmare Zone points. And doing so will give you on average about 185k worth of herbs. Now, these can be sent straight to your bank by right clicking bank all. This takes a couple of seconds to do, and like I said, that's the main reason that mains use this. There is also an upgrade section to the Nightmare Zone. Now, this is where you imbue your equipment. A list of the items that can be imbued are the Black Mask, the Slayer Helmet, the Salve Amulet, the Salve Amulet E, the Ring of Suffering, the Berserker Ring, the Warrior Ring, the Archer's Ring, the Seer's Ring, the Tyrannical Ring, the Treasonous Ring, Ring of the Gods, as well as the Granite Ring. Now, a lot of people know that the crystal equipment used to be able to be imbued. However, since the Song of the Elves, you no longer need to imbue your crystal equipment, as it always acts as it was fully charged. And then if you go over to the benefits tab, this is where you buy items that can be used within the Nightmare Zone. So you have the super ranging pots, the super magic pots, the overload, as well as the absorption potion. Now, each of these pots here, so the super ranging and the super magic, increase your magic and range level respectively by 15% plus 5. The overload does that for all your combat stats minus hit points and prayer, and the absorption acts as an absorption potion, so instead of taking damage, you will absorb the damage that you would have normally taken. So for this guide, we're going to be needing access to the absorption potions as well as the overload potions. If you are buying upgrades, you'll notice that the amount of doses you have will be underneath the potion or the specific potion. As you can see here, we have 170 doses of overload potion, so each dose only counts as 1 sip, so you need 4 full doses to create a full potion. Same with the absorption potion and the magic and the ranging pot. So once you buy them, they're actually stored in the barrels over here. So in order to access them, you right click and then take. You can also check how many doses you have in here if you don't want to go to the store. I believe if you right click and click store, it will actually store any potions that you have in your inventory. At the moment, we don't have any though. So in order to set up the inventory for this guide, you want to take on the overload potions chest, or barrel should I say, and you want to take 12 doses out. That would give you 3 full 4-dose potions. And then to get the rest of the inventory set up with absorption potions, just take, and you can just put 99 in there and it'll take out a maximum dosage. And now we're ready to go ahead and set up and start the Nightmare Zone. I'm going to presume that you already have some points in here in order to buy the overload as well as the absorption potions. However, if you do not have any points at all, what I would recommend doing is loading up a normal rumble, a customizable rumble, and selecting the following bosses. So Bouncer, me, Khazar Warlord, Count Draenor, and King Roll. You need at least 5 enemies to start the Nightmare Zone. If you can't select all 5 of those, head over to the wiki again, link in the description, have a look at what quest you've completed and pick melee only monsters. And what you want to do is go in there with your best gear, a load of prayer potions, select prey from melee and just kill as many of them as you can as many times over. This will give you some starting points so that when you come out of your first rumble, you should be able to start this guide. And finally, before we do go ahead and select our monsters and go into the Nightmare Zone, we need to cover one more thing, and that is the gear and inventory setup. So the one thing that is absolutely crucial is you need full Darox in order to do this method. Everything else can be substituted out. So like I said, you need full Darox. I'd highly recommend an Infernal Cape if you have one. If not, a Fire Cape is fine. And of course, if you don't have a Fire Cape, it will have to be a God Cloak. You need a Amulet of Torture. If you don't have an Amulet of Torture, I'd say a Fury. If you don't have a Fury, maybe a Glory, a Power Amulet, a Strength Amulet. Ideally, you want something with accuracy bonuses, so I would recommend a Power Amulet over a Strength Amulet if you can't afford the Glory. The Blessing can be anything. The Rada's Blessing 4 is the best in slot. However, if you have any other blessing at all, that is perfectly fine. The Ferocious Gloves are again the best in slot. However, if you don't have the Ferocious Gloves, Barrow's Gloves will be fine. If you don't have Barrow's Gloves, maybe Rune Gloves, a Combat Bracelet, or a Regen Bracelet. Moving on to the boot slot. If you don't have Primordials, Dragon Boots will be fine. If you don't have Dragon Boots, maybe Rune Boots, or perhaps you could use Climbing Boots G, or even the Spiked Manacles. Berserker Ring Eye is the best in slot. If you don't have a Berserker Ring Eye, you can use a normal Berserker Ring. And then of course, if you don't have a Berserker Ring, a Warrior Ring will also be fine. Moving on to the inventory setup, you need an item that can lower your health when in Nightmare Zone. If you don't have the Locator Orb from Mage Arena 2, I'd highly recommend using a Rock Cake. You need to have Ice Gloves. 100%, if you don't use Ice Gloves, your weapon will be unequipped when you're in the Nightmare Zone. A Holy Wrench is also incredibly useful when in the Nightmare Zone. If you don't have a Holy Wrench, I'd recommend just bringing along an extra prayer potion or even a super restore. For your special attack weapons, you can bring pretty much anything you want. Now, I'll give you a quick explanation as to why I bring a Halberd as well as a Bando's Godsword. The Crystal Halberd is only used because I don't have Dragon Claws at the moment. If you have Dragon Claws, I would bring them over the Crystal Halberd. The Crystal Halberd is good for killing larger monsters, as you can hit multiple times on them. As for the Bando's Godsword, you'll realise that there are some monsters in the Nightmare Zone that have quite high defensive levels, so if I'm struggling to hit anything on a monster, I'll just pull the BGS out and use a special attack to lower the specific monster's defense, meaning that you can power through the Nightmare Zone a lot quicker. Now, as for the inventory setup, actually very quickly, if you don't have either of these special attack weapons or Dragon Claws, just bring something like a DDS or something. It's really not that important, even a Granite Maul. But yeah, as for the inventory setup, you want to be taking 12 prayer potions, 8 full absorption potions, and 3 4-dose overload potions. Anyway, let's get into the main point of this guide now, which is which bosses to select and how to kill them effectively. Unfortunately, to do Nightmare Zone, you do need some starting cash. However, it is not a lot of money at all. I'd recommend putting a couple of 100k in here. However, you can put a minimum of 26,000 coins in here in order to start a hard rumble or a customizable hard rumble. However, if you have done all the quests in the game and have access to the quest cape, it only costs you 16,000 coins. So you get a 10,000 coin deduction if you have got the quest cape, which I think is quite a nice feature here. So for me, it's only going to cost me 16k. However, if you haven't done all the quests in the game, it's going to cost you 26k. So once you've deposited some money into the coffers, just click on the coffers. It'll give you a quick dialog box. If you click through it, if you have money in your inventory, it'll give you an option to deposit. So now that we've got some money in our coffers, you want to head over to Dominic, right click and click Dream. Once you have selected Dream, you want to click Rumble, and then customizable hard, which is the bottom option. This will let you pick all of your monsters, and it will be in the hard mode specific. So as you can see here, it'll just say it's going to cost you 16k and it'll be taken out of your coffers. Agree to pay the price, and then once you've done that, head over to the potion over here. Now be careful not to kill the cow. The cow's done nothing to you. Leave the cow alone. Click on the potion, click drink. Once you've clicked on the potion, you'll see a list of all the monsters available to fight when you're in Nightmare Zone. Now, you might not see every single monster on this list, and that's probably because you're missing a few quests. However, if you have got the Questscape and you have completed all the quests listed earlier, you should have the exact same list as me. Now, I'm going to put a list on screen now which will say to you all the monsters that you want to select when in the Nightmare Zone. We don't select them all. For example, the Corrupted Lizardman will poison you, and the poison does actually tick through the absorption potion, which will kill you. Witch's Experiment, there's 3 forms of it. It takes a while to kill and it's not worth the points. Elvarg, you need an anti-dragon fire shield. So there are a lot of things on here that we miss off. However, you will still be getting over 2 million points per hour if you select the list that I've got here. And please remember, if you don't have access to all of these monsters, you will be getting less points per hour. However, this is still by far the best way to do the Nightmare Zone. So once you're ready and you've selected all the monsters on screen, click accept and you'll be teleported into a nightmare. Once you are inside your nightmare, you get 25 seconds to prepare for the fight ahead. First thing that will appear is a box with all the monsters that you have selected to fight. What I would do is drink your overload now, run into the center of the arena, at which point you can start to drink your absorption potions. I would highly recommend drinking them as I do on the screen. That way you can just drink them the quickest way possible. Once you have drank all of your absorption potion, you have 800 points of absorption. Sorry, that is 4 potions, not all of them. Start using your locator orb or your rock cake to get down to 1 HP. Once you're at 1 HP, you'll notice you will slowly regenerate health. So to avoid that from happening, flick a rapid heal consistently, and that'll stop your health from regenerating. So the way you want to kill the monsters in Nightmare Zone is you always want to have Piety on. That's just to give you the most XP and obviously the highest chance of killing the monsters as quickly as possible. The next thing you want to do is look at the monster with the highest combat level. 9 times out of 10, that monster will give you the most points out of all 4 monsters that currently spawn. On the screen at the moment, I have placed a graphic which just shows the monster's name, the maximum amount of points that you can get for killing that monster, and then the combat level of said monster. Now, I did mention before that you won't get the full amount of points, however, you will get pretty close to it. The reason you won't get the full amount of points is because you only get the full points when having every single monster possible loaded into a Nightmare Zone Rumble. However, as I mentioned earlier, it is far more effective just to select the monsters that I listed before and have these in your Rumble and kill them consistently over and over again. What I'm going to do now is quickly go over the power-ups that you can get within the Nightmare Zone, and then we'll go over which order and what special things you need to do to kill certain monsters. When you're inside Nightmare Zone, power-ups will spawn throughout the arena randomly throughout the time you're in there. Now, one of the first ones that we're going to go over is the recurrent damage, which is a red orb that will appear on the screen. Now, you will also get a notification in the chat box to let you know that the orb or the power-up has spawned. If you click on the red orb, as you can see, what that does now is that gives you the power of recurrent damage for 45 seconds. And what recurrent damage does is whenever you hit on a monster, it will sort of hit another 75% of that as well as your initial hit. So if you hit 100, it'll hit a 75 afterwards. You won't get XP for the second hit, however, it does help you killing the monsters much faster. The next power-up that we're going to be going over is the Zapper. The Zapper is purple in colour, and what it does is it fires purple projectiles from its location, damaging nearby enemies. Now, it will damage most of the monsters in the arena. However, if they are immune to damage at the current time, i.e. the Dagannoth Mother comes to mind, or there is a Goliath Mother, I believe it's called, from Recipe for Disaster, that will not take damage from the Zapper, but everything else should do. The maximum hit of the Zapper is a 10. It depends on the maximum HP of the creature. So the higher the HP of the monster, the higher the Zapper will hit. This will consistently hit the monsters until they die. I would always recommend hitting the monster though, just to make sure that you are getting points from said monster when it dies. And this lasts for a total of 60 seconds or 1 minute in the arena. The next power-up we'll be going over is Power Surge. This one is yellow in colour, and what it does is it instantly fills up the user's special attack bar, and then it regenerates 20% of your special attack per tick. This also lasts for 45 seconds, so this is really good for unloading loads of special attacks, i.e. you've got your claws or something in there, or even your crystal halberd like I do on screen. This is a very good way of killing monsters incredibly quickly. And finally, the last power up inside the Nightmare Zone is the Ultimate Force power up. Now what this will do is this will kill every single monster on the field at the current time. However, it will grant you 0 XP and 0 points. So I would never use this if you have a high level monster on the field. As you can see here, I use it to get rid of Damis as well as some other low level monsters to get a brand new field, just so I can hopefully get some more monsters with higher hit points and obviously a higher combat level. Now this is the main reason why I get over 2 million points per hour, and that is because I consistently use the Ultimate Force power up whenever it is available to get rid of as many of the monsters as possible that are obviously lower in the combat level. And finally, let's go over the monsters and how to kill certain monsters and a certain technique that will help you get so many more points per hour. So Barrel Chest and the Elven Traitor will disable your prayer from time to time, so you need to keep an eye on that. You should get a notification in the chat box. Just make sure that you keep turning piety back on and killing those monsters as quickly as possible. There are 2 monsters which you need to use ice gloves for. That is Farid and Flambeed. I'll put pictures of them on screen as well as all the other monsters that we're talking about. So whenever these monsters spawn, put your ice gloves on and kill them first, and then switch back to your ferocious gloves, barrels gloves, whatever your next DPS gloves are. The Goliath Mother can only be damaged when on the orange phase. So if you notice that there's one about and you don't want to use the Ultimate Force to get rid of it, every time it just turns orange, just go and hit it, get a hit off on it, it'll change to brown, and then just go back to killing the normal monsters. There are 2 monsters you want to turn Protect from Magic on to bring them closer. Camille is the first one. He's the white one from Desert Treasure. You need to get rid of him as quickly as possible because he keeps freezing you in place. But if you turn on Protection from Magic, he'll teleport next to you. And the second one is Caramel. Now Caramel will constantly drain your stats, and that does include every single stat that you have, whether that's a skilling stat or a combat stat. So it's also recommended to kill Caramel just as much as it is advised to kill Camille. So make sure you turn Protection Prayers on for them, bring them close, kill them as quickly as possible. The only monster in here you do not want to kill is Damis. Damis has 2 forms. The second form drains prayer massively and he eats through your absorption potions. Sometimes you might notice you have 1, 2, maybe even 3 of them. Just wait for an Ultimate Force and wipe them out as quickly as possible. Obviously, if you have no other option, then do kill them. But just to be warned, if you do kill it, it will drain your prayer consistently, as well as that it will eat through your absorption potions. Alright then, and that is where we're going to be wrapping up with this guide. This did take a very, very long time to make. A lot of research went into this. So if you guys did find it useful at all, I would be eternally grateful if you could drop a like on the video. And of course, if you are new around here, maybe consider subscribing. Anyway, boys and girls, if you've got any questions, drop them down in the comment section below. I'll be sure to answer them as quickly as I can. Make sure you follow this guide to a T, and I promise you, you will get a consistent 2 million points per hour whilst doing Nightmare Zone. Anyway, take care, and I will see you in the next one.